I say that I learned to sing from Pat Benatar, and Steve Perry, and kind of those 80s kind of very harmonic belters. And so I liked to sing, but I never really had the courage to do it. So I was very, very, very shy and had debilitating stage fright.
Rob Ruckus,
Nick Collins,
Kate Clover,
Keith Semple,
Isaiah Mitchell,
Billy Harvey,
Tim Howard. Check it out, Almost Famous Magazine.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Hang right here on Almost Famous Magazine. I'm your host, Scott Saldinger. Thank you for coming back and hanging with us, getting to know musicians well beyond just their music. If you're new to the channel, let's face it, let's be honest. You know what to do. Please subscribe, like, put comments below. It means a lot, not only to us, but also the artists that spend time with us. If you're returning and you haven't told your friends, what are you waiting for? You came back for a reason. Get them on board. We appreciate everyone who subscribes. Also, if your preference is to take your podcast on the go and not see this lovely face, well, hey, I understand. My mother loves it. You may not, but we are available in audio only everywhere you get your podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. I better iHeart myself for a moment. All right, today on The Hang, as part of our Dollfest coverage, beneath you are a Bay Area pop punk lifers delivering melodic hooks, ska punk bite, and I love ska, everybody knows that. Emo-soaked urgency that feels both nostalgic and freshly dangerous, driven by seasoned punk veterans and a powerhouse new vocal presence. Their debut full-length album, General Hermitude, hits hard with tight rhythms. That might just be the only album I've ever heard of with the title of Hermitude. We're going to figure that one out too. Sorry, gotta ask. Filled with tight rhythms, sticky riffs, and lyrics that linger long after the last chord, providing this band isn't here to coast on legacy. They're here to push forward and make music for you. Released in November of 2025, Beneath You sound like a band lighting a new fuse, sharp, loud, and absolutely not playing it safe by any stretch of the imagination. I've got Mary and Serge with me today on The Hang. Welcome to you both. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Happy
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, we're going to talk about Dollfest. We'll get to that because, you know, that's why we're all here today. But more importantly, I want to learn about you. I want our audience to know who you are, your musical background, all that great stuff. So I'd love to start this conversation kind of going into the way back time machine, right? Like, I'll start with you, Mary. How did your relationship with music begin? Did you find music? Did music find you? What's your story that got you to where you are today?
So I think, like a lot of people in music, music was always around in my home growing up. You know, my parents listened to a lot of folk music, so Peter, Paul, and Mary, John Denver, you know, that sort. And then my brother, I had a big brother, or have a big brother, who's 2 years older than me. So, you know, he was like, oh, I did everything he did. And he listened to a lot of metal and punk. So that's where I got, you know, exposed to AC/DC, Dio, the Dead Kennedys, Fishbone, you know, all the kind of that vein. And then had babysitters who liked pop and rock. And then, so I had a lot of different influences as a child, but it was always around. And I remember there was one time in the car, my very first musical memory was I was singing along to the radio in the car with my dad, and I was singing that song. I think it was by Chicago, like, ooh, no, baby, please don't go. And I sang, sorry. Hey. So I sang that part, and my dad was like, Mary, you can actually sing. And I was probably like 3 or 4. So that was kind of my first memory of music being something.
Yeah. Well, and you know, from there, I mean, really, you know, from there, you may love music, but you've got to pick up an instrument. You've got to learn the craft. Mm-hmm. What's been your experience along the way, and what have some of the milestones been in your musical career?
So, it's kind of funny. I've always loved to sing. I say that I learned to sing from Pat Benatar, and you know, Steve Perry, and kind of those 80s kind of very harmonic belters, and so I liked to sing, but I never really had the courage to do it. So I was very, very, very shy and had debilitating stage fright. Really up until like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So Beneath You's first show was in help me out, Serge, 2023.
Yeah.
And that was my very first show ever. So it's been a very long progression for me musically, but I did it, and it's very exciting for me.
Well, I've got 2 questions. Pat Benatar and Steve Perry, were those private lessons, or was that kind of like, but also, because there have been a number of people who historically have had to overcome stage fright. Andy Partridge of XTC being one of them, and that really kind of debilitated his ability to continue the band and continue to prosper on outside of his own studio. What are some things that you did to kind of overcome that and really build that confidence? I'm curious.
Yeah. So I think the biggest, everyone always told me, Mary, you just have to go out and do it and it'll get better. And I was like, yeah. Because in the moment, it felt like if I did it, I knew in my brain that I wouldn't die, but my instinct was like, this is putting your life on the line, so it was really hard to overcome. But once I had a reason to, once I had the push of an opportunity to do something that I had always dreamed of doing, I was like, okay, I have to actually get my shit together and do this. So I just did a bunch of open mics, tons of open mics.
Which, if I may interject at this point, this is the most ironic thing to me, right? So I had a very, very different history, right? And I have played all kinds of halls from, festivals, like small to festivals. When Mare told me that she was doing open mics, and then I went to see her, open mics scare the shit out of me. That is like the most. I would play in front of 40,000 people before I would do an open mic. You're so exposed. You're standing there by yourself with your mic like, you know what I mean? Like the guy in the first row is looking straight up your nose, that to me seems absolutely terrifying. So the irony to me of the fact that Mare has had all this stage fright, right, is the fact that her first foray into performing was, in my opinion, the scariest, most exposing medium of performance, which are these open mics.
Wow, I love that. I think that's great. Serge, we're gonna, I'm gonna want to learn about your musical history, but I think that's interesting from the standpoint of, you obviously, I'm making an assumption, but you're gonna let me know. You prefer being part of a group as opposed to exposed individually.
Yes.
And I think that's a really interesting dichotomy of when you put a band together, when you put a group together.
Right. Well, and I think part of it was because Mare was so new to it all, right? I think in her mind, it was like, well, open mics are a small venue with a few people, right? Whereas in my mind, I'm like, oh, no. I need to have a network. And when you look at the audience, when you play big shows and you look at the audience, it's just a sea of heads, right? Like you don't see people's reactions and things like that. So with open mics, they're like sitting on your lap. So, anyways, I don't want to beat that dead horse, but it was just ironic to me that would be her foray into it. So.
Yeah,
Mary?
and it did the trick. So now, of course I get butterflies and there are some bad shows and there are lots of good shows. But it doesn't feel like I'm going to die anymore. So,
I think there's there's something to be said for that, because sometimes we let that, if we want to call it fear, it's anxiety, whatever it is, it's different for everyone, take over. I don't know of anyone who's ever perished because of any of those things. And it's those who find it within themselves to decide that they're going to tackle that head on and overcome it in the way that best suits them, that find that success and that ability to kind of grab that brass ring and be able to do it. So I applaud you for that. I mean, it's,
thank you.
It's definitely, definitely not easy.
Well, and as I get older also, I think the pressure to be perfect goes down. It's not perfect. Life is not perfect.
No, it's not. And you know what? I mean, I think the older you get to, I mean, the little, you care less about what those people on the other side really think. And you're just like, I'm going to go do this for me because I don't owe them anything. So I think the timing is right for you. Timing is perfect. Serge, what was your musical story like? This is going to be interesting since you prefer that kind of warm blanket of a group.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I started off as a total band nerd. I started playing young piano, and then I played trombone. I played tuba for the ladies, in high school. I, did everything from marching in drum corps to playing in school bands and junior symphonies and singing in choirs. And then eventually, around the 80s, I think, when I was a teenager, I started I've always obviously known about rock and pop, but I sort of started moving into that direction and played in a flurry of unknown bands and cover bands and those types of things. And then in the 90s, I joined a band I started a band with the singer called Limp, and we got signed to a subsidiary of Fat Records called Honest Dons. And that sort of kicked off the whole touring in a band and sort of living the musician lifestyle. And that was great. We got to tour with a lot of just phenomenal bands, I see you're wearing a Toaster shirt. We got to play with them, and we played. We toured with Less Than Jake, and their manager, I think, was in the Toasters. So their tour manager.
Well, Buck has been on the podcast before.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
a great guy.
Yeah. So we Limp did, I think we went until about from 94 to 2002. And at that point I moved to Japan and I hooked up. I don't know if you remember a punk band from Japan called High Standard. Their guitarist, they took a hiatus or whatever it was, and the guitarist was starting his own solo project, and he and I ran into each other at a No Use for a Name band show, and he said, hey, he remembered me from the before times, and we kind of hooked up, and I started touring Japan, which was like, who knew, and so then I played after I left Ken Band, I played in a band called The One Thought Moment, which was with Dan from the Suicide Machines. And then when I moved back to the U.S., I joined a great local touring band called Year of the Fist. Squeaky, the singer, was in The Fabulous Disaster. Limp played with them back in the day. So it's been great because I've gotten to play in bands with people who I have admired and toured with back in the day. And so around, Mary and I started dating in 21, and around that time I was looking. So Year of the Fist was a harder band, a bit more definitely not a pop punk band, you know. And so I wanted to get back to my pop punk roots and do something a bit more melodic and poppier. And so I had 3 songs that I was playing around with, and I was kind of like thinking about putting ads in the paper type of deal. You know, I had a friend from Crimson Riot record the lyrics for the demo, and then as Mare and I started talking about it, I heard her sing, you know, and was like, oh, holy shit, that's, you know, she's for real. So that kind of went down that road. So that's sort of how I got to where I am to this point.
Well, I mean, that's fantastic. You took my follow-up question right out of my mouth, how you guys came together. Let me ask you this though. You had 3 songs, you've got the album out. As a couple, are you now sharing and writing? Like, where are you finding inspiration for these songs? Like, does that come out of the relationship, or are those coming out of other experiences? I mean, I'd love to know.
They're all about me. Every single song. It's all about me. You're saying you're
a sociopathic narcissist who has to control the entire band. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Serge?
with a great ass. All of that. Yeah, it's the full package. Yeah, no. No, Mare, you're the lyricist, so tell us about your songs.
So I mean, they come from different ways, but the typical way it happens is I'll go take a shower, and then I'll come back and, you know, my hair up in a towel, whatever, and Serge will have the guitar and say, I think I have something. And so he'll like play some chords, and then we'll start, you know, working on a melody, and that kind of comes together. And then as we're doing that, some phrases usually come up, and like an idea, or we'll do a working title, and then I'll put together a draft of the lyrics, and usually they're kind of inspired by the working title. And then Serge and I will come together on the lyrics, and we'll kind of flesh them out together, and then we'll bring them to the band and see if they dig it.
Nice.
And then they write their parts, and it all comes together.
Yeah, and they really,
I'm sorry.
They really do change. You know, this is one of those bands where everybody, like, songs end up very different than where they start, and that's a great thing. You know, that's what makes it interesting, totally. In my opinion.
Just so everyone who's watching is aware, we did not discuss any of this prior, and he keeps coming up with my follow-up questions. Because, Serge, I think we should give some love to the other members of the band. I'm always interested in, you know, none of us get anywhere without others. None of us is just this island. You know, we may treat people well and they help us, or we may step on them and take them out in the process. Either way, we need other people. When you've written these songs, tell me about the other members of the band and kind of what they bring into that mix to create what you hear in your mind, or what your vision of the music should be.
Yeah, no, it's actually a great, interesting question, because Beneath You started in the middle of COVID, right? And I think that is a really key component to our path here, because at that time we were all sort of hunkering down, and it was Mare and I, and that's all we really had, right? We couldn't go out and be like, hey, let's meet and jam. Like, that wasn't a thing, right? We're all quarantined, right? And so the way we were writing songs back then is in a vacuum, right? So it was basically Mary and I putting together ideas, and then hired guns through different, you know, websites to play the instruments that we couldn't play, right? And they would add a little bit of their flavor, and some of it was really substantial, but generally it was a similar voice. Do you know what I mean? Like, all the songs had a very similar sound, that was the sound of Mary and I writing those songs, right? And when we went out and started playing with other musicians, we relatively quickly had Jason and Gavin. So Jason is our guitar player, and his brother Gavin is our drummer. So if you do the math, that's one married couple and two brothers in one band, right? Like, yeah, what could possibly go wrong there, right? But they were in a band called the Dance Hall Crashers, which again is someone who likes ska, I'm sure you're very well aware of. And the Limp back in the day used to play with them quite a bit, and we toured with them. So I've known them for quite some time and really respected them as musicians, and they're all songwriters in their own right. You know what I mean? Like when this version of the band came together, it just became so easy to do, because it's like everybody knows their roles, you know, and everybody knows their parts. And so when they, you know, they liked our first EP, which was the COVID EP, enough to join the band, but it definitely didn't represent their sound, right? Because again, it was written with just the two of us and hired guns, you know. So slowly we started changing to fit this new demographic, you know, and it was awesome because the songs became so much more interesting, in my opinion. I mean, I still love the old songs, and they're great, and they were great for what they did, but in my, like, the General Hermitude songs, in my opinion, are diverse and interesting, and that is what, and it's stuff that I would want to listen to, you know. And so that to me is the huge benefit that they bring to this.
So if you like the last question I asked, you're gonna love the follow up on this one, because you are leading me down the path.
Yeah.
So, you know, we live in a world where music has become kind of one song at a time. We don't listen front to back on albums anymore the way we used to. We're shufflers, as I like to call everybody.
Right.
And, you know, even the idea of a single is so much different these days, right? So, because there are different tacks you can take in releasing your music. Some people I know just do one song a month. Some people put out an EP, and some people actually, you know, invest in doing a whole album. That being said, and this is going to be fascinating to me, you have a catalog now, right? You have the EP, you have the album. Of those songs, and you may even think of this differently, so we're going to get answers from both of you. Are there a couple of those songs within that collection that if music was a meal, those one or two songs would be the appetizer for someone to hear, to go, wait a minute, I need to find the rest of this stuff and consume it, right? So each of you give me one song, and look, we didn't plan this, so it could end up being the same song, and one of you may be upset with the other for choosing their song. Could happen. But like, if I'm just watching today and I'm gonna get familiar with your music, where should I go for that first or second song? Which ones? Mary, why don't you go first?
Oh, it's so hard. I can't choose just one. So I think I'm gonna choose Happily Never After, because it is well, Happily Never After or Lizzy. I'll go with Lizzy. See how I got two in there?
And you know what? We're having fun. So we're having fun. So two's acceptable today. But tell me, why is he? Tell me the story behind the song, and what is it about it makes that important to you?
So Lizzy is a song that means a lot to me lyrically. It's about the pressures of being a woman, being a mother, and just when you get to the point where you just dream of being able to kind of drop out, you know, like the idea of, the line is, Lizzy dreams of falling. And so lyrically, it speaks to, I think, women of my age who have a lot of different pressures from different areas. And musically, I think it's really powerful, and it has a really cool riff that it's an example of how it sounded one way when it was written, and then we brought it to the band, and they put their touches on it and just
totally
took it in a whole different direction, and a much better direction, and made it into what it is. So
yeah, ironically, that song was called Jenny, right? Because it sounded like 8675309 Jenny, and now it does not at all. So now it's Lizzy and sounds totally different. So to your point, it did get changed quite a bit. So
yeah.
Nice. Well, now, Serge, you get to go. I hope this isn't going to cause any consternation between the two of you if you've.
Oh, we'll have a talk offline afterwards. No. So my favorite song on the album is Information, and everybody knows that because I've been squawking about it since we put it down. It's a song about someone who says that you're a bad communicator and then doesn't listen to you when you try to communicate, right? So I think it's a relatable song. No, right. I read about it in a magazine. It wasn't my personal experience, yeah. But, it's like one of those where it's like, it's truly genderless, because I think it's an experience that anyone has experienced, that has been in sort of a toxic communicating relationship. So, but it, just like what Mary said about Lizzy, I also think it sort of highlights the sound that Beneath You has, which is sort of this like ska-adjacent, clean guitars that slam into like a harder a driving chorus, And what's interesting to me about that song musically is that completely holistically, the bridge became the explosion. Because when I first was coming up with the musical part of it, I sort of visualized the choruses being the explosions, the little explosion, right? So you have like these light verses, and then boom, the chorus comes in. And that certainly does happen. But to me, the bridge just sounds like a bomb drop, and that was like, I did not foresee that happening. So yeah, I love that song, and I do think it's indicative of kind of the sound that we go for, which is very dynamic and melodic, but also driving and, sort of try to be powerful. And I love the lyrics. Mare's lyrics on it are awesome. So.
Well, and it's funny because the bridge that you're talking about, that was the hardest part to write lyrically. So that kind of tends to happen. Those bits that I'm like, oh, it's not right yet. I just keep having to keep work on it, and it eventually ends up being the best part. So
that's great. I mean, it sounds like you two are really good collaborators. I like to hear that. That's really great. I need to change gears though, because Serge keeps figuring out the next question. I want to catch him off guard. Going back to what I said about, we don't get there alone, right? We need other people in our lives. I'm curious from each of you, has there been one individual who's had a huge impact on you in your life that you, upon meeting them, maybe they continue along in your life, maybe they just have a moment where they give you some sort of gift and you take it along with the rest of your life? Has there been someone like that for each of you who's been monumental in that way? Serge, how about you?
That is a great question. And, I honestly would have to say I don't think so, because there have been so many people that have given me, like every single music instructor that I've had, and I've had many, and they were truly just phenomenal people, right? I mean, they've given me those gifts, right? So it's hard. I can't think, I mean, you know, like I could say like Fat Mike, right? Because he, you know, he signed our band and that changed the trajectory of my life, right? So that's a person that I could say. But then I could also say the singer who I happen to just go to, you know, the singer of Limp, who I happen to go to a coffee with when we had a mutual friend, and he changed the trajectory of my life as well. And I would have never met Fat Mike if it wasn't for that meeting, you know. So I don't have that kind of I can't think of one person who I'm just like, yeah, I was gonna be an accountant and now, you know, I have spandex and I live my rock and roll fantasy. Like there's no one like that for me. But I just want to, you know, I don't want it to come across as like, oh no, I did it myself. You know, I did nothing myself. Like everything was gifted to me by other people, and, you know, encouraged and fostered, and, you know, so the journey has been absolutely littered with people who are like that, and I've been very lucky in that respect. So that's mine.
Well, you know, I was kind of setting you up there because shouldn't the answer have been Mary?
Well, that I think that's implied. Yes.
Are you start shit, God?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Band's over. Divorce.
All right, Mary, how about you? Have you had someone who like that? Or I mean, the answer that Serge gave is great. I mean, we're all different, right?
Yeah.
Like I personally have, you know, part of my business philosophy comes from one individual who made a massive impact on me, right? And we could have those in different scopes of our lives, right? In different areas of our lives. But, you know, do you have someone, especially on the music side, that's had that kind of impact on you?
I have a few that come to mind. So the first one is a professor so my first career was social worker. So I was a social worker for like 20 years. And then became a stay-at-home parent. And when it was time to kind of figure out what else I wanted to do, I went to school at a community college for music because I knew I didn't want to go back into social work. So I started studying music, and my professor there was very, very encouraging and, kind of not your typical professor. And he just really, nurtured my interests and encouraged me to keep going. And, I didn't have any theory background at all. And I started learning why, I'd always written songs and written music, but I didn't understand why things sounded good to my ear. So when I started learning about theory and things, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. It's like math. And I think he liked to see my enthusiasm. So that was Professor Forehand. And then as I got into the community and joined some songwriting groups, I met Mona Dina. And I joke that she's like my musical fairy god sister. And she would run some groups in the community to get together and do works in progress. And so she was, again, very nurturing and supportive. And she was really the one who kind of got me to go and do the open mics and things. She went to the first open mic with me, and she's still a really big part of my life. And then, I know it sounds super cheesy, but Serge, I say he literally.
You're just trying to get one on me. Yeah, okay. I see.
Serge, Mary
this
understood
is be
the
a song.
assignment.
Yeah.
Mary understood the assignment, sir.
Yeah. This is going to be a song. This is going to turn into a song. I can already tell. Yeah.
All right. Look, everybody's heard it here first on The Hang then. We now know where the impetus for that next song is going to come from. I think that's fabulous. You know, I love getting to know your story. I mean, it's really, when it comes to bringing people together or people coming together, you never know the why. It's a mystery. And I think that it's worked out so well for you two, and I'm excited. I'm going to try and make it out to Dollfest so I can photograph the bands.
Oh, that would be great.
Concert photography, and
Awesome.
I really want to spend some time to get to know the artists because we really.
I'll let you know what my good side is if you're there. You know, it's very clear.
It's I will take that on I'll take that on advisement, but you've not seen my style of photography yet, so we'll talk about that.
Cool.
I tend to be the person who finds the moments that everyone else in the crowd misses. I think that's those little tiny moments are the ones that you don't get to see.
That's right.
What brought the band to Dollfest? How did your Dollfest story come about?
Can I take this one, Mayor? Because I think so. I met Maria actually years before Dollfest when Year of the Fist would tour up to Portland. We would always do these, Pacific Northwest runs. And like any California band, Pacific Northwest is like your jam. Because it's like, it feels like a tour, but it's not, you're not committing to like a 6-month type of thing, right? So I met Maria at one of the venues in Portland, and we would reconnect. The band would reconnect with her whenever we would tour up, and so we became friends. And she then when she moved down to the Bay Area, we were, staying in touch. And yeah, we went and played. We went to and watched the first Dollfest last year. And my old bandmate from Year of the Fist, Katie Cash, played one of the shows. And so, at some point I said, well, we'd love to play if there's a slot. And sure enough, we got the chance, so very excited to be a part of it. Did I miss anything, Mayor?
I think you got it.
I think that's great. I mean, it's interesting because everyone who's participating, and we're talking to most of the artists that are performing. A lot of them, and one of the things that I really love of about her is that she's fearless. She'll go up to any band and ask them to participate.
Yeah.
Like Maria is just like, hey, I want you to participate in Dollfest, and these bands are like, who, me? So the fact that you've known her that long and that you asked her, I think is fabulous. It turns the table a little on that. And I think that, what they're doing with Dollfest and the purpose behind it is tremendous. I think we and the greater we need this. And I love that it's a place for those who are in a variety of different communities to come together and be as one together, which is one of the things I love about punk rock. You can go to a lot of different genres, a lot of different festivals, and feel kind of alone in a crowd. But if you've ever been to punk rock bowling, it's a family reunion. It's the most amazing experience. Yeah. So I love that for the genre.
And it came out of, I went to probably it's either had to be the first or second punk rock bowling. So, Fat used to send some of its bands out there as like a Christmas gift, and so we would go out there when it was a bowling tournament, before it was ever a show. And the shows were kind of incidental. It was like, well, since we're all here, let's do a show kind of thing, right? So it started as a family event, right? It started off as friends just wanting to get together and bowl at some like sketchy Vegas bowling alley, right? And so it kind of holistically grew into what it is now. But with Dollfest, I think there was it feels, even the first one felt like it's been around forever. Do you know what I mean? Like everything felt very intentional and professional, but yet also sort of welcoming and inclusive. And so there was this awesome vibe between the audiences and the bands and, just the audience, right? Like it was, so it's really impressive what she's been able to build. I mean, and how quickly.
Nice. I love that. Let me ask you this. I'm kind of curious. So you were at some of the original punk rock bowling. Do you have a famous, or not a famous, but a favorite punk rock bowling memory that you can share with me?
I mean, I sucked at bowling. That's a memory that I can't, for someone who's got a bowler's body, I am an awful bowling person. I mean, it was cool. Like, it was fun because the band would go out there. We had our own, our band was the team, right? So it was Team Limp. And I think we had like Mark DeSalvo, who used to design all the Fat Record album covers, right? I think he was part of it. And we got to print, like, we had bowling shirts that had our Limp logo and our names. It was a lot of fun. And you just see, I got to hang out with like Steve Soto for like, from the Adolescents and, for a day. It's like, chances of that happening, right? Because he lived in LA and I live in the Bay Area. It's just, we would see each other at shows and that was about it. And here we were together. And I think at that time, both of us weren't drinking. So we just we hung, and so I don't necessarily have like one overarching memory of it, but it was, especially back then, just an incredible way for people to for musicians to get together outside of music, and not be at a house party, not be at a show, not be talking over somebody playing, going like, "Oh, are you good?" Like. So yeah, the doctor said the rash is gonna clear up any day. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like it was a great, it was a great thing, and I have not been back. So I moved to Japan, and it in that time it turned into this huge event, and I honestly haven't been back just because I'm old and fat and festivals, but it's awesome, right? It's awesome that it turned into what it did.
Cool. No, I appreciate that. All right. So, one of the things that we are big believers in here are dreams and aspirations. And some people have things in their life that are, they put them on a vision board, they set goals, or it's their bucket list. I'm using bucket specifically because of those who know the toasters. But it could be their bucket list. But at the end of the day, we've had some incredible things happen when we put nice and wonderful things and dreams and aspirations out in the world. So I always curious, if you had the chance to get in a studio for one day with one other artist, it could be they play any instrument, they're a writer, they're a producer, whoever, who would that person be and why would you want to spend a day being creative with them? Mary, who would your person be?
Oh, it's a hard one. I think there are some bands, not local, but in our scene that I kind of fangirl about, like Go Betty Go. I think they're just super awesome, and so maybe that would be it. Or Pat Benatar, my teacher, my original teacher.
Go back for some more lessons, for sure. Serge, how about you?
That's a good. I mean, my answer is always going to be Paul McCartney, because, like, to me, the Beatles are the ultimate band, right? And they ruined it for the rest of us by doing everything better. But I mean, there's so many great bands out there. I mean, I'd love to, like, and I've met like Billy Joe of Green Day before, but I would love to, like, sit down with him and kind of ask him about how he gets certain sounds and how to get like those kind of questions. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Paul McCartney because that's the overriding.
Well, you know what? I can't say that we've had success getting anyone connected with him, and he's been asked for before. There's a common request. Yeah. But this is our first Pat Benatar. So if anyone's watching and you know Pat, you're connected to Pat, you know her people, someone else, her dog sitter, whatever, get Mary hooked up and let's see what we can do. Everyone who watches knows that we are ridiculously supportive of the fact that this business is harder than ever. And you're not gonna make enough money off of streaming revenue to even have enough gas in the car to get to the gig. So we're gonna put all the links below where people can purchase your music. We believe that, support your artists, buy their music, buy their merch, buy tickets to shows, buy a ticket to Dollfest. If you live in Des Moines and you're watching this and you love this, get in the car and start driving. It's never too late. You can make it to Dollfest. You've got plenty of time, even if this episode is airing the day before. So support your artists. With that, we kind of turn the corner and head home with, when you're not making your own music and you're relaxing, you're going to the gym, you're out walking the dog, you're in the park, you're driving the car. I love to learn who 2 or 3 artists that you either they're on heavy rotation or you've just discovered that you're really loving what they do and why it resonates with you. Serge, who are a couple of yours?
Yeah, that's a good question. So let me just do one quick plug because I think this is a good time. We recently just got signed to Sell the Heart Records, and thank you very much. Yeah. And it's an interesting time right now because it's one of the existential questions we have to ask is, well, what does a record label mean nowadays, right? Because let's think about what it meant in 1995, right? It meant distribution and it meant, money, right? So you put out a product and it gets distributed and that's what you got, right? And since all of that is not a thing anymore, really, unless you go to the Atlanta Records type of thing. But on an indie level, what does it mean? And I think where I at least had an epiphany is that it means community. It's a community of bands that's usually, by a person or a group of people who put their favorite people or their favorite sounding bands or people they like into that community, right? And what I found is that Sell the Heart very much has the type of bands that I'm stoked to be in a community with, but I also like the sounds off. So some of the bands I've discovered, like Haunt You, Sad Snack, and there's a couple that I'm sort of spacing right now, but they are phenomenal. And Andy, who is the label daddy, is in the band called Tsunami Bomb, who Limp played back in the 90s with before he joined, but they put out some great female-fronted, sort of horror punk, pop punk type of stuff, right? So I love them. Then finally there's a local band in San Jose called Family Obligation, and we've gotten really close with them and we really enjoy playing with them. I've been listening to their album and I find myself whistling their songs in the shower. They're super poppy and super catchy, like a lot of fun, but really introspective. And that part resonates to me because, I tend not, when I write lyrics, I tend not to write very super introspective. So it's always super cool to hear someone's with a different take. So I think that's my answer, Bob.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's a great answer. And again, congratulations on getting signed to the label. Mary, how about you?
So I guess I'm glad Serge mentioned some of those because I was like, how am I going to choose? So I'll say Go Betty Go again because they're on heavy rotation for me. Also, Small Crush is
right.
A local band who's kind of coming up and getting big. and the singer just happens to be Jason's daughter. So our bands are related in some way, and we share a practice space and all that stuff. It's very cool, and they're really fun music. So then there's a band that I'm super stoked about right now, and they're new, so I can't wait to kind of see where they go and how they develop. And they're called Black Gold Sun.
Oh yeah,
here in the Bay Area.
yeah.
Okay, wait. Those are my sisters. I had them. They are on as an episode. I love them.
Yeah.
They are amazing human beings, and like I was just blown away because I like these conversations to kind of be light, and I'm not going to dig too deep into everything, but to find the only video I could find was them playing on a sidewalk,
Right.
and this crowd around them. That was friggin' amazing. I mean, absolutely incredible. I am right there with you, Mary. They are tremendous, and I love what they're doing. And I really love the reason why they're doing it. Their story is tremendous. They really are dedicated to why they're a band, and I love that for them.
Yeah, so. And they're just lovely people. Yeah. And they're playing, next Friday? What is it? Yeah. Next week, yeah. So.
And they're playing Dollfest.
And they're playing Dollfest, yeah.
And they're playing Dollfest. So these are great suggestions. And everybody, again, support the bands, not only the people that we have on, but when you're passionate about music, please don't rent it. Don't steal it. Support your musicians so that they can continue to make amazing creations for you. An artist has to at least buy the canvas before they buy the paints. You got to buy an instrument, and then you got to rent a studio and rehearsal space and all that stuff. Stuff doesn't come for free, so please.
Yeah, nobody's doing it for the money, right? Yeah,
go out and support your bands. Mary and Serge, this has been fantastic. I'm gonna make you the same offer I make everyone else. When you put out the next album or EP, we're going to do this again. And maybe we'll bring in the rest of the band. We'll make it a family affair.
Love it.
We'll get everybody together for this. In the meantime, as we've been telling you, not only support your bands, but go get yourself to Dollfest. Buy tickets. Support what Maria's doing. It is so important now and from here on out, because we've gone too long without anything like this. And although it does feel like it's been around a while, they are growing and they are going to become a powerhouse. So please go out and support them. Thank you so much for hanging with me today, Serge and Mary. I really appreciate it. It's great getting to know you. And everyone who's been, hanging out with us this long, thank you. And as I tell you, go out, love yourself, be kind to yourself, and then give that to others as well. We need that in this world. We don't get there alone. So be good to yourselves and come back for our next hang. Serge and Mary, great getting to know you. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Scott. I'm going to go love myself right after this. Thank you.
That goes for any kind of love. All right, everybody. It's been great. We'll see you soon.